All of this rain, it's been an issue for the last couple of days. Still an issue, Tim.
And we still got 5 to 7 more days of it. It's not raining at all times, even out there this morning as we look at our sky view. There are some breaks in there and some bright spots, and that'll be what the trend goes with today. As we get into the afternoon, we'll probably see a little bit of some sunshine, but then we'll do this whole scenario playing out again tomorrow with showers and storms developing overnight tonight and lasting through a good chunk of your Tuesday. There is rain falling out there across a large portion of Hampton Roads this morning. Some heavier downpours, some embedded thunder off to the south, and all of this is lifting off to the north, so we have several more hours of some strong to maybe even the possibility of some of them being severe, although they haven't over the last few hours, so keep that in mind. Flash flood watch has been extended until 10 o'clock this morning. Areas in green in south side and the counties in green in northeastern North Carolina. For the same storms to be moving over the same areas that have already picked up 2 to 4 inches of rain, 1 to 2 inches more, overwhelming those drainage basins there. We're in a very unique setup this morning and really for the remainder of the week. We have a ridge of high pressure over the eastern parts or the western parts of the Atlantic that's trying to build back westwards towards the east coast. It's butting up against this upper level low that's sitting over the Michigan area. You can kind of see that pivot in the atmosphere here. There's nowhere for it to go, and we're squeezed in between the middle of it, so that's pulling in a lot of deep tropical moisture in the form of those heavier downpours and storms that have been setting up over the last couple of days and will continue to do so through much of the work week and even possibility of lasting into next weekend. Flash flooding potential will remain in place pretty much all week, and that tropical air mass will keep things very, very humid as well. Sky view outside in Hampton, it is cloudy there, 75 with a dew point in the low 70s. That humidity staying in place for quite a while. 71 at Hosky, 74 now in Newport News, 73 Portsmouth and Good Morning, and Elizabeth City at 74. Here's how it shapes up on Futurecast. Going through the morning hours, I think things quiet down a bit, and into the afternoon we'll see those clouds part just a little bit, giving way to some partial sunshine. All in all, mainly cloudy, especially into this evening and overnight. We start to see another batch of rain showers and storms develop to our west along the I-95 corridor, and by tomorrow they start to push their way eastwards. We'll see heavy downpours, some rumbles of thunder, continuing for a larger duration of the day tomorrow than I think what we'll see today. Temperature-wise, very similar, though, and then all over again late Tuesday and on into Wednesday morning as well. So how much rain between now and, say, tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow morning, I should say? Actually, tomorrow evening, 6:15, 1 to 2 to maybe as much as 3 inches additional rainfall, especially if you get stuck under one of those heavier downpours. So 86 today. Those morning storms giving way to partly sunny this afternoon. Warm and very muggy. Tonight we're down to 74. Thunderstorms firing back up again, especially off to the west, and will remain very muggy. And there's your 7-day forecast. Temperatures remaining in the middle to upper 80s pretty much all week. Very humid. And those shower and storm chances north of 50% right into next weekend.